Hey guys, what's going on? Adam from Exotics. Welcome back to the channel. Please do me a massive favour if you haven't done already. Please smash that subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment, and don't forget to ting the notification bell so you don't get to miss another video. So guys, in today's video, what we're going to do is actually, I'm going to walk you through the day-to-day running of a reptile shop. Obviously we've shown some animals before, we've gone around different enclosures and things like that, but I actually wanted to let you know what it actually takes to actually run a shop. And it's not just animals, it's things, you know, paperwork and charts and checklists and things like that, which you have to sort of do, you know, to be within the parameters of your license and things like that. So we're going to walk through. It's not going to be in real time because obviously I do all that stuff in the morning. It's the end of the day now, the shop is now closed. But to do it as I'm doing it in the morning is it's not going to work because obviously the shop's open, although I do come in early, but when I come in early, not all the lights are on and the timers haven't kicked in yet, so I can't really do it in real time. So we're going to walk through exactly what I do in terms of feeding and supplements and things like that, just to give you an insight of what it actually takes to actually run a reptile shop. It's not all fun and games and playing with animals and talking to customers. There is some nitty-gritty work to it as well. Some really boring work when it comes to paperwork and things like that, but it's something that we have to do. It's law. It's, within the parameters of our license, things that we have to do. So I'm going to take you guys along and briefly show you and tell you everything that I have to do. Whoever's in the shop, whether it's me or someone else, we all have to do the same sort of thing daily. We have daily check sheets, we have weekly check sheets, but we'll go through that in a bit more detail in the video. So guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So guys, first thing I do when I come in, lights go on. I normally have a bag of stuff which gets dumped on the desk. That TV goes on because, like I say, I do get in a good hour before we open, so I do like to put a bit of YouTube on. Sometimes my guilty pleasure, I do put Family Guy on because I am a bit of a weirdo. So by the time I come in, most of this stuff is still off, so the timers haven't kicked in. I think they go on about 8:30 in the morning or thereabouts. So some of it's on, some of it's off. So I come in, telly goes on, light go on, the lights on this goes on. And then we have my station here. There is a bit of a mess at the moment, so do excuse that. But this is where I prepare, salad and things like that for things like the tortoises. We have it for the iguana and bits and bobs. So I prepare sort of food on there. Normally the night before, we will get a separate container and we will put crickets in there or locusts. And we'll put some veg in there just to sort of gut load them overnight before we actually feed them. So we do actually feed all the animals gut loaded crickets or gut loaded locusts and even gut loaded mealworms. We do put a lot of veg and food into the actual mealworm container so they can get some goodness into them before we actually give it to the animals. So the first thing we do is the veg. Now what eats veg in the shop? Quite simple. We have the tortoises. Like I said, we have Hermans up there. We have some marginated tortoises in there. That one's empty for now, but as of tomorrow, we're getting some redfoot, some baby redfoot tortoises in. They come from a high humidity place, hence why there's Reptile in there. So Reptile isn't just for snakes, guys. It's multi-purpose. We can use it for any animals. And down there we have some horsefields. So they will get salad, and that could be a mixture of dark leafy greens, cabbages and dandelions and a little bit of kale. It could be a bit of fruit, a bit of strawberry, things like that. So they get a nice varied diet, and they sometimes get the the dried food. I'll show you if we have some. Yeah. So sometimes we give them this sort of stuff here, which is like a meadow mix, or they've got the fruit and flour. They do love that as well. So they do get a nice varied diet. What else has veg? What else has some salad? Obviously the bearded dragons will get exactly the same diet. So whatever we do for those is basically we make loads of it up, chop it all up nice and finely, and then it goes into all the animals that obviously have veg. That gets sort of dusted with vitamins and supplements and things like that. So we go around doing all that. There's not many animals in here that actually have veg. Obviously, that beast does. He is a little sod. He will literally try and whip everything, aren't you? Little green iguana. So he'll eat veg. He loves his veg actually. So after the veg, we go to the crickets. And obviously the crickets have, like I said, they've been pre-gut loaded from the night before. So crickets go into, in various sizes, obviously size of the animal dictates the size of the cricket. But the tegu will get a mixture of crickets and locusts, and he's actually hiding in there, you can't really see him, he's hiding. Things like the plated lizards, they get crickets. Obviously the bearded dragons get crickets. The eyed lizards, or the European eyed lizards, or jeweled lizards, they're getting really big now, they're crazy. They get crickets, and they also feed on mealworms, so they've got a nice little mealworm dish in the corner. Some really cool bearded dragons, looking awesome. Like Euromastics, that won't eat that much live food. He has some live food, but you know, he does eat some seeds, a little bit of vegetation, and the occasional sort of live food as well. Then we come to the geckos. Obviously the geckos will live on mealworms and crickets as well. They don't really like the crickets much. They do tend to stay with the mealworms as a preference. Same with this little gorgeous thing here. So this is a sailfin, really massive back feet. Look, you can see the size of the front feet to the back feet. It's crazy. I'm in love with this little dude. Look at that face. Look at that face. So yeah, that one's on crickets and locusts as well. We don't just feed, you know, crickets or locusts. We do give a varied diet. We've got the tegu in here, and he should come flying up to the glass. There you go. He is just food orientated at the minute. We've got to work with him a little bit more, which I will be doing tomorrow. I'll be spending some time with him. Not aggressive whatsoever, just loves his food. So he's just got to work out the difference between food time and handling time. So the fire skink would have crickets. Obviously the June geckos would have tiny, tiny crickets. And if you can see that container in there, we actually have some baby ones, some smaller ones. You don't want to mix them, you know, the sizes that are too sort of big. We've got some adults, or just shy of adults, and we've got some babies. The adults would actually eat the babies, believe it or not, but there's one on there, and then you can see the baby in the back. But they're getting big enough now, so probably in the next few days they can come out of that container. And then start integrating at the fire skink in there. So he'll be on crickets and locusts as well. Occasional mealworms. Same with the long-tailed lizards. Where are they? You can see them in there. Look at the size of that tail. Absolutely crazy. So we do feed them little tiny mealworms, or mini mealworms, and they do get small crickets as well. You know, itty tiny ones. What else? Obviously the chameleons, we feed locusts. We don't really like feeding the chameleons crickets. In my personal opinion, the crickets obviously stay to the bottom, and you're forcing the chameleon to come down from where it feels safe. Although there's nothing wrong with that, they will obviously venture on the floor anyway, but I just like feeding them locusts so they can stay up in the trees, feel nice and secure, and show off those awesome colours. The Leachy hardly ever touches crickets. He will take crickets. I have seen him take crickets, but he's a massive rapace eater. And obviously the green basilisk, or the Jesus lizard, down there, loves her crickets. She's looking mighty fine. Just chilling there with her leg hanging over. So that's pretty much everything on that side. Then we come to the glass tanks. I wanted to show you this, guys. So you know I've been doing my building my sort of bioactive enclosures. This is the last one I've done, and I'm really proud of this one. It looks really, really cool. Nothing in it at the moment, but I am so happy with the way that's turned out. Bear in mind, guys, I've only, you know, done a handful of these, and that's obviously quite a big one, so that was quite a challenge, but I thoroughly enjoyed making it. Really enjoyed myself. So yeah. So dart frogs, white-lipped tree frogs, that one's now empty, and some white tree frogs all get fed a mixture of small crickets, so we're talking the tiny crickets here, and fruit flies. They're doing really well. We come over to the gargoyle geckos. They're on crickets and rapashi, and same as this leechy there. You can see them there. Again, rapashi and crickets. This is another one I've just finished. This one isn't completely done yet, obviously. Still got to plant some more. Plant pot there. But just a nice, I'm really happy with these. Really happy. My first attempt, some of the side has fallen off, so I've got to sort of touch them up. But really happy with that. And obviously these little characters here, hello, they're fed a mixture of floating pellets, so it's this sort of stuff. They also get things like that, shrimp, dried shrimp, but they also get live mealworms or worms, anything that I've got to hand, they get. They're pretty cool. And look at their shells, man, they're absolutely gorgeous. So these are hieroglyph turtles, if I can say the word right. So it's a hieroglyph river cooter turtle. That was a mouthful for me to say. So yeah, that's pretty much everything in terms of crickets. Obviously snake feeds are quite self-explanatory. That happens once a week. So that's pretty much feeding. So I do all that within the first hour. But within that first hour, I've also got to do welfare checks. So guys, that's pretty much it for the feeding of the animals. Obviously it's a bit more in detail when I'm actually doing it. But while I'm doing that, I'm also doing welfare checks. Now we have to do welfare checks daily, obviously to make sure that the animals are doing well. There's no health issues, there's no injuries. Make sure the heating is working, make sure thermostats are working, make sure there's no, the vents haven't been pulled out so they can escape. We look for escapees and things like that. So there's lots of things that you got to do in the morning. So with a snake, it's quite simple. For example, a raw python, ball python, we will unlock it, get it out. First thing I do is check for mites. Obviously being in a shop and the amount of people that come in, and the fact that I do get animals from various suppliers now, I have to be on top of, the mite situation, because I don't want mites in my shop. Will it happen? 100% it will happen, and I'll deal with it when it does. But I have to check every day for mites, respiratory infections, belly rot, mouth rot, skin rot, whatever you want to call it. I have to check for all these things. And that's not just the raw pythons, that's everything. So that's the corn snakes, the carpet pythons, the king snakes, the Amazon tree boas, the common boas. Every snake goes through the same sort of ritual. When it comes to lizards, again, we're looking for the similar things. Obviously, mites isn't an issue with majority of lizards. There are certain things that can carry snake mites, like the blue-tongued skinks. They can carry snake mites. Not a lot of people know that. So that's another thing I check for mites while I'm checking for, respiratory infections and things like that, because everything can suffer from a respiratory infection. It's something you've got to get on top of. So if it happens, it happens. We've got protocols in place. As a business, we have to be registered with a vet. Obviously, we have a vet that can come to the shop, or we can take animals to the vet. Doesn't matter which way, as long as they're seen by a professional, if there is an issue. If we do find an issue and that animal needs to be separated and quarantined, we do that. Depending on what the issue is, if it's, for example, if we have more than one animal in an enclosure, and we notice that they're fighting and there's war wounds on them, we can just separate them to another enclosure, or I've got spare enclosures out the back. If it's something like mites or something like a respiratory infection, something that can spread through your collection, I take them home pretty much immediately. I get them collected, or I shut the shop for half an hour, shoot home and come back, and then do the old treating thing. We do have a quarantine area in the shop out the back, but with things like that, I'm not risking them being in the same building. You know, if there's mites, they go home, they get treated at home, and then obviously I check everyone here, I clean their enclosure, I use spray on their enclosure and things like that. But yeah, we do have quarantine for other sort of reasons, but anything like that, I do take them home. So things like crested geckos, leechy geckos, gargoyle geckos, things like that. Again, we're looking for signs of ill health, signs for injury if there's more than one in an enclosure. Now, the only one in terms of geckos, we've got 2 crested geckos, which are the same size in one enclosure. Everyone else is separate, so that's not too much of an issue. We do have the pair of blue tongue skinks, and I'll quickly show you. So they're looking really good. So we have the pair of blue tongue skinks together. They've been together since they were like that big. They're doing really well. Fed on crickets, they're fed on rapashi. And when I say rapashi, some people think, oh, you feed skinks rapashi? Yes, we do. And I'll show you exactly what we feed them. So you can see that it's a rapashi blue buffet or bluey buffet, actually designed for skinks, and actually love that. So that's really cool. So once I've done all that, guys, once I've actually gone through all the animals, they've all been fed, they've all been checked for their health issues. As long as they're all healthy, they get to stay in their enclosure for the rest of the day until we do the next check, and if we find something else, we do it all over again. But then I'm a happy man. I can then come to my desk. Obviously, doing all this with serving customers and doing bits and bobs anyway. So I'm gonna pop this down. You're probably gonna get a really bad background. There we go. So, yeah, exactly. This is all the paperwork that goes into running a reptile shop, guys. It's not fun and games. So we have, you know, policies. We have things like our setup kit prices and things like that. We have our supplier or wholesaler price lists. We have invoices. We have our license information. So all the things that we had to adhere to get our higher license, our higher standards license, is all in this folder here, which is there. Not only that, I won't bore you with the ins and outs of that. We have more, believe it or not. We have to keep, and this is all, it's all good stuff to keep, but this is stuff that we either need to run the business or we need it per the license, if that makes sense. So we have an order book, and this is just a day-to-day order book. And basically, whoever does the order will, skip the pages, we'll literally highlight stuff to say that it's been ordered, and we know it's going to come on the next delivery and things like that. We also have to keep a log of the animals in and the animals out, whether they're sold, whether they're bought in from a private breeder or a supplier. We have to log where the animals have come from, what animals and how many, etc. Then we have the welfare book. So the welfare book, again, is a sort of a day, what's this called? A week to view diary. Basically, so every day that someone's in, they'll write exactly what they've done on that day. So spot cleans, water sprays, bug feeds, salad feeds, rapashi feeds, snake feeds, that all goes in there. And anything else that we find. So if we find a snake with a stuck shed and it needs some care, i.e. it needs to be soaked in some warm water or something like that, we have to log that down. It's a health issue, not a serious health issue, but it's a concern with that animal that needs to be addressed, so it has to be written down and recorded. Also, if we find, you know, we had a spout of, we had a load of baby Amazon milk frogs, and they were tiny little things. We were losing them quite rapidly, so you have to put that in there as well. So not only have you got to put it in there, you have to have a mortality book. So any animal that dies in the shop, no matter what the reason, has to be logged in here. Yeah, and then we have things like this. This is a product waste book. Now you think this would just be for the business, but you know, for our purpose, but this is something that the that the council and the licence insisted that we have. So this is basically for anything that we have to use off the shelves for the shop, i.e. if a bulb breaks or a thermostat goes, we take it off the shelf. We record it in here to say that we've used it. That way we know it's not been stolen. We know why we've used it and things like that. And then comes the fun part. Now this is this thick. You'll see how thick this is. There you go. So in here, we have to do temperature recordings 3 times a week. Okay, so we have to record the hot spot, the cold spot, the minimum and the maximum temperature. So we have min-max thermometers on each enclosure. We do that 3 times a week. But to be fair, we do it every day because when we do our welfare checks, we're looking physically anyway. And that's the first indication that maybe a sensor has come apart or come away, or a light isn't working, especially ceramics, obviously, because you can't see if they're not working, obviously because they're non-light emitting. So we do it every day now, but we have to record it 3 times a week. We also have to monitor the UVB output, and I can find my little handy tool. Where is my handy tool? There it is. So this is a UVB recorder. It sort of records UVB. As you can see, we're inside, so there's literally none there. But if I go and put that up at a UV bulb, it would tell me how much UVB is being put out. And obviously there's a chart on there, the chart on the back, and I have other charts to tell me what animals should be in what zone, of the Ferguson zone is what they call it. That has to be done once a week. And we only do that once a week because obviously we're a brand new shop. We've only been here 3 months, so all the lights are pretty much perfect. Obviously another three to 6 months, obviously these lights will start the bulbs will need to be replaced, because what a lot of people don't realise is although the UVB bulb is on and it's giving light, it might have lost its UVB capabilities. So it's given off light, but it's not given any UVB. So that's a really handy tool and quite an important one that we have. So yeah, that's for that. So that's that pile. So that's all fun and games. So that's just an insight of what we do for the first few hours of the day. Then obviously we got to serve customers. We've got to deal with issues on the spot. So if we see, you know, a water bowl that's been, so we have a red tegu, not the red tegu, the Aki monitor that he loves digging. So he kicks up all the substrate into his bowl. So probably 2-3 times a day we're cleaning that bowl out to give him fresh water, because we don't want a customer coming in, having a look around and seeing a bowl in an animal's tank that's filled with mud, you know, with dirt from the substrate. So it doesn't give a good impression. Although I know it's been changed multiple times, the customer doesn't know that. So I'm always on top of things like that. And let's not forget, guys, that once I finish doing this, I've then got to go out the back and do my own snakes. As you know, I have my own collection of royals, but we have royals out there. We have gargoyle geckos, we have corn snakes, Brazilian rainbow boas, we have Mexican black king snakes, we have scaleless Texas rat snakes, we have breeding corn snakes, we have red-eyed croc skinks. Shh, we have some red-eyed croc skinks. Not ready yet. Shh. Well, I'll say not ready, I just don't want to let them go yet. And then, yeah, so we have all that out the back as well. So after I do here, I've got to go out there. After all that's done, we then do the fridge. Now, this isn't something we need to do every single day. This is probably every other day or every 2 to 3 days, the animals in here. So in here, we have our tarantulas, and people are saying, why have you got them in a fridge? Yes, it was a fridge. Obviously, we've converted it now, so it's got a nice heat bar at the top. It's got fans that circulate the warm air. At the moment, it's 76 degrees in there. So it's nice and warm for the animals that need to be in there. So in there, we have mantises. So we have orchids, we have flowers, we have devil's flowers, dead leaves, giant Asians and things like that. We have our slings. We have our other spiders. We've got curly hairs. We've got king baboons, jumping spiders, and some other stuff. I'll give you a quick look as well, because our little jumping spiders are starting to come out of their sack. There was a couple out. Oh, they're at the top. You're not going to see that. They're at the top. So those two little specks, jumping spiders. Awesome. So the next few days they should all start coming out, and then we can look to feed them, and then we can look to separate them into our own sling pots. Yeah, so we'll probably do that every 2 to 3 days. Everyone gets sprayed, everyone gets fed. So that's not really that much work, to be fair. Obviously LEDs just to light it up for the customers. Guys, there we have it. A brief little look in, the day-to-day running of a reptile shop. I will try and get the actual footage as I'm actually doing it in real time soon. Maybe when there's 2 of us in the shop, one person can actually deal with customers as they come in and I can just crack on and film. But I just can't do it when I'm on my own. It just doesn't work. So I hope you understand. I hope you have got some insight of what we have to do. Barnet. What we have to do during the day. If you've got any other questions and you want to ask me, just drop your comment down below. Email me at taexotics@gmail.com. That would be there. Or send me a message through the website, www.taexotics.co.uk. That will also be there. There we go. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thank you for spending the time, taking the time to watch this video. I know, especially this day and age with lockdown, people are watching a lot more YouTube, so there's loads of videos to cram in to watch with the time that you have. So I do appreciate you tuning into one of mine. It really does mean the world to me. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers, guys. Really looking forward to hitting that 3K mark because it's been a long time coming. But until next time, guys, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you very much for your kind words and support. Honestly, it does mean the world. You guys are fantastic. And I will see you on the next one.